sbagliata, messa fuori, c'è Pirlo, ancora Pirlo di tacco, tiro,
Hello and welcome to this week's AC Milan podcast. I'm your host, Samik Paul, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Jason Brown. Jace, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Very good.
Good, man. And of course, I'm also joined by Jack Cowlin. Jack, how's things?
Yeah, all good, mate. Not long of the season left, is there? So enjoying every minute of football that we can.
Not long at all, mate. Right, fellas, plenty as always to talk about tonight. We'll look back at the draw with Atalanta, the prospect of playing in the Europa League next season, and have ourselves a bit of fun with all the transfer rumours. But first, just to those listening, if you'd like to hear more from us throughout the week, then you can follow me at SP Weekly. Jace is at SP Weekly _Jace, and you've probably guessed it, Jack is at SP Weekly _Jack. So, on with the podcast, boys. Let's start by looking back at that draw with Atalanta. I'm not going to lie, I didn't particularly think it was the greatest of games, not the greatest of performances, but it's a valuable point. And it kind of puts us in a decent position now, heading into the last two games of the season, to hold on to that sixth spot and get ourselves into the Europa League. The big talking point, of course, was the switch in formation to a 3-5-2. I can't say I was overly impressed with it, but it kind of comes back to a topic of conversation that we had last week about the 4-3-3 and whether or not, if Montella did change it, would it, make a massive difference to us? I don't think it did. I think maybe perhaps we were a little bit more solid at the back. We were a little bit more organised in that sense. But I don't think the individuals are there to make the sort of 3-5-2 flourish. One man in particular, who's like a perfect example of that, was playing Juraj Kucka at right wing back. I think he got caught out a number of times defensively. And that was just my kind of sort of small example just to say, yeah, if you haven't got the players to, fill those roles and make it work, then I don't know whether it's such a wise move to be switching things around at this point in the season. Both of you watched the game. Jack, come to you first. Thoughts on the sort of switch in formation? Very big game in that sense. Obviously, Atalanta securing fifth, but with Milan still chasing sixth and Inter and Fiorentina behind them, they couldn't afford to really drop points. But brave move from Montella.
Yeah, it was brave. It did puzzle me as he seems to be doing more and more at the moment. In honesty, that he seems to be making calls. I think, we've talked, spoken quite a lot on here in terms of trying to still, find a way at the start of football and all the rest. But with a few games to go, it does seem a bit of a strange time to do it. Obviously, there's a few other clubs that sometimes take this risk in that, but Fiorentina are still right in this mix. And, if you were safe and secure of that and were just battling Atalanta out for that 5th, 6th, then I could imagine why you do it. But when you still got to look over your shoulder a little bit, I thought it was pretty, it was brave. I thought overall, in terms of the performance, as you said, there was definitely some teething issues there, wasn't there? I think sort of some of the positioning and things was all over the shop, but that's obviously going to be the case. I don't know. I just think defensively that there was just a little bit of a lack. Even when there was a clear mistake, players weren't turning around to scream at one another and say, you should have been here, because I don't think there was that clear, as I say, clear identity of who should be exactly where and such. So, really brave decision. As you said, a result, a draw's not the end of the world. And certainly, I think, you were quite, would have probably taken that in terms of Atlanta have probably been in better form and everything recently and such. So, you can't complain at it completely. But again, you look at the team and it's the personnel, unfortunately, I don't know if there's a formation out there that's gonna make this team look any better at the moment. I really feel as though, it's the quality of the players rather than anything else at the moment that's hampering you guys.
100%. But like I said as well, I think heading into the game, I was sceptical. I wasn't confident about coming away with anything. But, Deulofeu stepping up and getting that goal, albeit very fortuitous in the sense, obviously offside, and then the deflection to boot.
Yeah.
Everything went his way.
With him taking that, though, the only thing I would say is I was screaming at the TV the first half because it was the same as we've seen week in, week out. recently in terms of shots from right on the edge of the box and wide, which were never going to go in and things like that. But at least, the goal was very for a great deal of fortune with it. But the composure he showed just to, to stop, to kill the ball with that stop, turn inside and at least open that shot up. We haven't seen much of that in recent weeks, and honestly, have we? It's been just lashing at everything that comes their way. So at least he showed that composure to slow the game down a little bit when in the box, which is a massive complaint I've had of his in recent months. So fair play to him for doing that.
Yeah, no, I've echoed that as well. He's frustrated me in that sense a couple of times where he has taken that extra touch and not gone for goal or crossed it early. But yeah, in that situation, he did really well. And make your own luck, boys. It's definitely a big goal, big point for us. Jace, just come to you. Formation-wise, I think we spoke about it heading into the game last week, just that, it was touted that Montella might change it. Big decision, right? But I guess looking at the result, it kind of paid off.
Yeah, I think it was the right move to make. My only point to make is if this game is kind of in the back of his mind, if he's looking forward to the big finish for Europa League places, he might have, tried it out in one of these so-called easier games where you did drop points, where you were caught off guard, by some of these, like Pescara, for instance. Maybe just in the middle of the game, or you say to the lads, we're going to start off with this formation. If it works, we continue with it. If not, we go back. Because Jack made a good point. I think players were a bit unsure about where they should be. And it's kind of you're going to be nervous, playing this, which is, a fairly big game if you're going for Europa League places against a team in good form, higher than you in the table as well. So, and away. I think to try it out just cold first time round wasn't the best decision. Obviously, it worked out for him. He got a valuable point. But I think, they're a little bit harsh on the performance. Obviously, it wasn't the greatest, but you have to think this is the first time this group of players have played that formation. Going away to Atalanta is not easy. So I think, in all things considered, the point's good. Whether or not he persists with it, I think, you were a bit more solid at the back, obviously, only conceding one away. There was times where players did look nervous, but I think maybe a week more of this in training and trying out another game would help. But I think, can still get Europa League place. I agree with Jack's point about Deulofeu as well. So overall, I think, you can say it's been a positive week for Milan. I don't know how you feel about it in terms of were you expecting more? Were you just relieved about getting a point?
Relief more than anything, I think. Yeah. I mean, I was dreading it going into it. I did think that we'd end up coming away empty-handed, and it would be down to the last two games. And depending on what Fiorentina did and Inter, it would probably be a bit tighter. But yeah, I'm pleased with the point. I think, I do agree with you in the sense that giving it more time and sort of a bit more, work in training, that there might be better communication, better chemistry, build-up play as well. Everything could improve over time.
I think it's about planning because, as a manager, you'd expect him to look at the fixtures, especially with the run-in. You're looking at the last 5 games of the season and you've got an objective still to meet. You'd think you'd have a look at it and kind of pinpoint where you could try new things or where possibly you'd have to be a bit more defensive or, But, overall, I think trying it for the first time out, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Is that something that Wenger did at Arsenal? He tried it out in not a smaller game, if you like, but a lesser team, and then ahead of a big game. Am I right, or is that completely wrong?
Yeah, well, that's what was said. That they tried it out against Middlesbrough, the 3 at the back, in anticipation for the City game. And obviously, since moving to that formation, we've only lost the one game. Unfortunately, it was a big game away to Spurs, but having all those wins, and I think trying it out at Middlesbrough, obviously the Middlesbrough game didn't start off the greatest. We were a little bit shaky. We did get the first goal, but then Middlesbrough got back into it. And then I think playing the 90 minutes with that formation, listening to what Oxlade-Chamberlain had to say about it, especially for him, who was probably making the biggest change from midfield to playing wing back. He said, playing it in the Middlesbrough game definitely helped, and getting the big win against City, making it to the final, it definitely worked.
Fair enough. Well, I think we're going to have to be doing it in reverse, I guess. Got Bologna this weekend. So
yeah.
see how that goes.
I think for you as well, Samit, there must have been an element of of looking around the locker room and seeing who's available. You've obviously got a few defenders out at the moment, and it might have been a little bit like, you know what, rather than just plug someone in at right back and and all the rest of it, let's here's an opportunity for me to maybe try something that I've been thinking about for a little while. That there might have been an element of that to it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, Montella returning as well as an extra body in midfield, maybe that came into his thinking. We've been overrunning midfield in recent games. Atalanta obviously press all night long and very dangerous on the counter-attack and whatnot. So maybe various things did come into his thinking in that sense. But yeah, it just comes back to the point just with I started with, to be honest. I think it was just too many players not too effective enough in the roles that they were made to play in, and as you both kind of mentioned as well, just as a team collectively, the chemistry not quite there yet. But yeah, if he goes with the 3-5-2 again this weekend, then we'll have to wait and see if there's improvements. But it should be interesting.
He's listening in, isn't he? Because he obviously listened to our backer advice. Obviously, bringing him in, he gave him about 40 minutes or so. Didn't he?
He did.
After our comeback.
Thanks,
I'm pretty sure we talked about playing 2 up front as well and flooding in the midfield. So I think he's just stolen all of our points. But fair play to him.
Good man. Dropping some more tips for him this week, hopefully. See if
Show me that Chinese money.
Oh dear, good stuff. Boys, another thing actually though that I kind of took the opportunity to do was to watch a number of the Atalanta players. We've spoken about a few of them in previous podcasts. Jack, I know you're big on Kessie. I think he was one of my, sort of top players from the game. I just like how for such a young player, he knows when to keep it simple. He knows when, all right, let's not risk this. It's either a simple back pass to a defender, pass across the pitch, just keep in possession, ticking over. But then he's got that wonderful burst of pace. It's a one touch, off he goes, breaking into the box, and next thing you know, they've got a corner or... He looks
powerful, isn't it?
Very powerful. He obviously had that great shot. Donnarumma, unbelievable save to deny him, but he looks a player, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, just a bit. He's like, as you said, modern footballers are obviously constantly evolving, and you're seeing this, but you kind of watch him. He's got a bit of everything. He's got the destroyer look about him, then he's got the elegance of passing, and as you say, keeping it simple and sort of having a bit of. I'm not comparing him to these types of players, but as I said, you can easily compare him to SEM when I say a destroyer. You can compare him a bit to, a Cruz in terms of the way that he's just left, right, back, nice, efficient passing at the right sort of pace. And then, he's got the energy and the attacking ability of, a top attacking mid. So you kind of look at him and go, what more do you want? And how old is he? 20?
20,
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, you kind of look at that and say, I know Pogba was in a very good Juventus team that went on and accomplished a lot, and obviously Atalanta haven't quite got to that level. But when you're talking about attributes and you're looking at the stature of a player, Christ, you got to be licking your lips if he's genuinely going to be available in the summer. And I think he should be a priority for anybody that's after a centre mid, really.
Absolutely. Latest talk is that he does want the Milan move. It's between Milan and Roma. He's leaning towards Milan. I think we've offered him better personal terms. So fingers crossed from that sense, especially on basis of this performance. I'm desperate to see him at Milan next season, but we'll have to wait and see.
I'll have him on the back of my shirt next year.
Good man. Jace, Kessie in particular. For me as well, just to add, Caldara was good in defence. He's obviously already signed with Juve. Loaned him back to Atalanta for this season and next season, so he'll be off to Juve in a little while. The right back, Andrea Conti. I don't know if you saw it. There was a video that some guy put together of his performance. Absolutely brilliant. Tireless down that right flank, constantly breaking forward, still doing his defensive duties, picking up play in midfield. All sorts. Popped up with the goal as well, of course, but.
You could do with him up top, let alone in defence, couldn't you?
I know, yeah.
He's a top scoring defender, isn't he?
He certainly is, yeah. Definitely bring him as well, Kessie. Jace, Kessie impressed you as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like Jack's comparison to Essie, and I think that's spot on, really. I mean, great player. Someone we really need, not to bring it back to Arsenal all the time, but it definitely would suit in Arsenal. I think he's built for the Premier League as well, but he'll be a great signing for Milan. We've seen what he's done this season as well. I mean, if you might be a AC Milan raid on Atalanta in the
It looks
summer.
that way, yeah, certainly
Yeah,
does.
but great players. I think that Kessie definitely. I'm surprised he hasn't been linked with more Premier League teams because he could generally, I reckon, walk into any midfield there with his power and his pace. But yeah, great. I mean, if he was at Milan, we talked about the problems with your midfield. So I mean, that would
Good
be
building block, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely starting position. Get someone in there, or maybe even just stick with Suso and him, and then get some wingers in there. That's a great starting four for midfield, and then a couple of additions for the bench, and you sorted. I think. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, massive.
And he's proven in Serie A, so
exactly.
it's always a plus.
When you mentioned Premier League, it just made me, and you talk about him walking in.
Yeah.
He does play slightly differently, but obviously Yaya's at the end of his career at Man City. He's another one you can see a bit of that sort of, just dominating games in terms of his, stature and stuff. You can kind of see that sort of style with him as well, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. And he's got a shot on him, just like Yaya.
Yeah.
Can contribute going forward as well, so massive plus.
Lots of boxes being ticked.
Basically, keep him quiet, Samit, before everyone else.
I was going to say, boys, if Montella's listening, let's hope there are no more Premier League managers out there listening. We've done a great advertisement for him there. But hopefully, fingers crossed, he's on his way to Milan in the summer. That'd be a brilliant signing. But yeah, all good. Just to wrap it up with the game then, so big point, and we'll obviously come to the Europa League race now, but just happy to come away with something, and gives us a bit of a boost heading into the last two games of the season. Last weekend, boys, of course, we had Fiorentina surprisingly beating Lazio, and Inter's misery continued with a loss at home to Sassuolo. I don't know if you saw it, but the Ultras decided to hold a little protest as well during the first half. They decided to walk out and say they were off to lunch because they couldn't be bothered to support the players. So it's not looking good on the other side of Milan.
Why the after lunch comment?
It's an early kickoff. I think it's at 11:30 or something. So, but yeah, they made the banner and everything. It was brilliant. But so Inter are out of contention now. So it is Fiorentina breathing down Milan's neck. Big weekend. Milan at home to Bologna. I don't want to sort of this come back to haunt me, but I'm expecting 3 points there. I know we've struggled against
you've said that before to me.
Yeah. I know we've struggled against the so-called lesser teams, but with what's at stake at this point, he's got to be drilling it into them now. No slip-ups.
They're safe as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're not playing for anything, are they? Really?
Exactly. So I hope that sort of plays into our favour as well.
They might already be on the beach, mate. That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. Fingers crossed that is the case.
Have they got anyone? Have they got any players that you that are again sort of ones to watch out for, or any potential? Obviously, we're heading into the transfer season. Anyone there we should be looking out for? Or
no one
standouts for them.
Yeah, no one that kind of jumps out off the page to me. They've got Mattia Destro, who's an ex-Milan player, so maybe if he's in the mood, pop up and score against us. But yeah, no. Apart from that, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that screams out. But yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, they'll obviously come and try to frustrate us. It's just going to be down to us whether or not we are able to break them down early and sort of set the pace from there, which will be crucial. Don't want another frustrating afternoon. That's the last thing I need. But and then obviously, I think the key for me is that Napoli-Fiorentina is the night before on the Saturday. Again, I don't want to tempt fate, but I'm hoping Napoli do the business. They're obviously fighting for their own thing with second place with Roma, so they're going to be up for it. They need the 3 points. So I'm desperately hoping that they do us a favour, because if Fiorentina don't match our result, our win, if we win, then obviously we take 6th. So that'd be beautiful. But we'll have to wait and see. And then obviously you've got Lazio versus Inter, but I dislike both teams, so we're not even going to talk about them. So yeah, all good. Big weekend. Let's see what happens. The talking point again that's obviously cropped up with what's on offer this weekend is sort of balancing the pros and cons of being in the Europa League. I know we've spoken about it before, but I just want to have a sort of weigh up sort of two arguments and see what comes out on top. Jack, I mean, obviously I've mentioned countless times now that I just want to get back into Europe. I think it's crucial to this group of players, to the players coming in, to the club as a whole, that would get that that Europe feeling back, and sort of build from there. There's also the arguments against, though, that obviously we don't have the depth at this current point before the summer market. We'll see who we bring in, but we don't have the depth to kind of compete with the top teams in Serie A, let alone compete in Serie A and Europa League. And then also, by participating in the competition, we're obviously open to the financial fair play regulations, which brings its own problems, and it's obviously something that the board and the hierarchy are going to have to think about. But for you, like I said, we have spoken about it before, but for you, is there simply no argument? Is it just get into the Europa League, and that's just got to be the sort of target for us?
Yeah, come on, man. And anybody that doesn't want that, like, I know AC Milan are a big club, but I don't see any cons in it, honestly, at all. You might not have the team at the moment, and you might get thumped in the league a couple of games after, the Europa League and things like that. But it's something to be excited about, as fans, as players. It's sort of something else. You get to watch your team more because you're playing more games. You're playing against different teams, so it gets you out of the sort of monotony of playing the same, Serie A teams and things like that all the time. You get to see, play it up against other teams and get to see other styles of football from across the continent and all of that. Obviously, the youth players and your current squad, it gives them another dynamic to learn and grow, and in terms of, again, experience in going away as a team and traveling. It's all these small things that people, sometimes forget, the camaraderie and stuff like that helps build a squad together. And it is going to freezing cold Russia every now and again and sort of, all pulling together and trying to make a good trip of it and get a result over there and stuff. It makes you look at all your other players, in your side, and sort of garner that extra little bit of respect and stuff like that. So, but just as a fan and such, it's another competition you might potentially win or that you could do well in, and it's another bit of excitement to have Chile. You obviously have your domestic title, the league, and then a domestic cup and such. But so there's not loads of opportunities to see your team succeed and try and progress in a competition. And I don't care who anybody is. Everybody loves a cup competition, a knockout competition, and things like that, because obviously it's wham bam, how's your mam? It's sort of no mucking around like the league table, is it? So it's come on, what's there not to like? The financial fair play is obviously something of a concern. There is less time on the training ground because you are traveling and things like that, but come on, put it to a side. This is football. You want to be winning stuff, competing for stuff, and seeing your team play more and more. That's certainly what I want as a football fan. So all good for me, all positive, and certainly should be doing everything you can to not just get into the competition, but give it a bloody good go when you get there.
Exactly, 100%. Literally, I'm all in for it. I don't see the argument against it. I think it's nonsense. But the only thing I would add is, as you just kind of mentioned there at the end, we have to take it seriously. I don't want to qualify for it and then excuses come out next season. Oh, we're prioritising Serie A. The Europa League will just sort of rotate and bring in the youngsters and just mess about with it, essentially. I don't want to see that. I want to be in it. I want to take it seriously. You've got that jackpot at the end of it, qualifying for the Champions League by winning it. Let's just get in there and go for it. I've noticed, I think it was comments from Gasperini, the Atalanta manager, this week. He's even said that he's going to prioritise the Europa League over Serie A next season already. So that's where their intentions lie.
If you ever needed inspiration, who's in the final this year? You've got Man United, one of the biggest clubs, obviously go and spent all this money. But then you've got this young, youthful Ajax that have come from absolute nowhere to sort of spark everyone's imagination and love for Ajax again. Do you know what I mean? AC Milan could do that. It doesn't take. Do you know what I mean? Why can't you go and do that? They've got a younger squad than you, and it's. Do you know what I mean? It should be exciting.
Absolutely. Jace,
and practically it's a route, sorry to interject, but it's a route into the Champions League. Look at United falling out of the top four in the Premier League, but they could still be playing Champions League football next year, and Milan want to get back into the Champions League. I know that's the be all, but Europa League is an option, especially in a very competitive Serie A where it's only 3 spots, isn't it, for Champions League? So
yeah,
for sure, very, very difficult.
No, 100% agree. I don't want to remind you about it, but obviously we're in a similar spot where we might both be featuring in the competition next year.
Europa League final, I've already called it Arsenal, AC Milan.
I look forward to it. Well, you never know. Tottenham might drop down to
Hey.
Sorry, Jack.
It's
Sorry.
all right. They'll get knocked out to Ghent. It's fine.
Oh dear.
Come on.
But just I mean, obviously, a very similar situation potentially. Then, what's your thoughts on the Europa League? Obviously, I know you just mentioned there getting into the Champions League, but the competition itself, are you looking forward to being in it next season?
Yeah. Well, I still, touch wood, have hopes that we can make it into the Champions League, but it's looking very unlikely. Obviously, with Liverpool's win on the weekend, but Europa League, it's a European Cup, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I'd take that. If you win it, it's a trophy at the end of the day. Champions League qualification aside, for me, it's about if you make it to the final, you win. It's winning a final, isn't it? You've won a cup. The players are happy. The fans should be happy. I don't see any negative to being in the Europa League, apart from the fact that you didn't make the Champions League. That's the only negative side to it. But definitely, I mean, playing in Europe, I know you have to go to some dodgy places, as we've mentioned, but it's football at the end of the day. Jack said it. I'm used to seeing my team play 3 times a week, weekend, midweek, weekend again. I only go back to once a week. That'd be devastating for me. But I'm sure as a Milan fan, it's been a while since you've seen Milan in Europe, so surely you're looking forward to it.
Yep, I certainly am. Just as long as we don't get hammered 4-0 by Karabag or something like that, I'm all in. I'm looking forward to a bit of Europa League action. But let's hopefully let's finish the job off this season and see what we do next year. Jack, I'm going to ask you to cherish this moment because it's the one and only poll that I've held this week. So you'll be.
What happened?
I don't know. I fell off the poll game a little bit this week. Let's step it up next week. But I asked the question specifically, just about the Europa League. Who wants to be in it? Who doesn't? A resounding 76% of those voted said it's good to be back in Europe, and 24% obviously said thought it'd be better just to focus on Serie A next season. So the majority.
That seems high. That's still quite high. I honestly thought certainly 95%, but I honestly don't know why people wouldn't want to. That staggers me in honesty.
That is true. I don't know. Maybe it's the.
Let us know. Did anyone actually tweet in saying why they wanted to focus on Serie A, or was it just the votes?
No, I don't think they did actually. It was just the votes, but I don't know. I see the argument in the sense that you look at what Conte did at Juve in his first season, what he did at Chelsea this year. That sort of impetus with the spending this summer, just focus on Serie A.
High expectations there, and that's what it means to come in and usurp Juventus and such in your first sort of day.
Yeah,
it'd be good. I mean, if anyone out there did vote no, it'd be good to hear what their explanation is, isn't it? I'd be interested to hear that.
Definitely get in touch with us. Anybody listening? It'd be good to hear from you. But yeah, so let's see how we get on. Another talking point from this week, fellas. Matteo De Sciglio picked up an injury in the Atalanta game, and Milan have confirmed that he's going to miss the last 2 games of the season. So essentially, if we're going to believe all the transfer rumours that we've heard over the last couple of weeks, he may well have played his last game for Milan. Disappointing and sad on one side of things, but I go back to sort of watching Conte in that Atalanta game. He was almost everything that I imagined De Sciglio would be eventually, or at this point of his career. There were such high expectations for him when he first broke through. There was the lazy comparisons, he's the next Maldini because of his sort of versatility and, ability, right-footed, played on the left, and all the, fair comparisons, I guess, but I just thought it was very premature. And, there was a stage where I thought he would kick on. He was maturing, he was performing consistently, he looked solid defensively, could get forwards and do his thing there as well. But I don't know at what stage of the path he just started to stagnate. And we're at a situation now where I genuinely don't think we'd miss him in terms of his versatility and depth, but he's not a standout player who's performed week in, week out, and you think, yep, he can walk off the pitch and he's one of the top players that consistently delivers for us. I know, you've both watched him closely this season, and obviously you've seen him for Italy, but Jace, thoughts on sort of potential of him now moving on? I mean, he did break through on the scene with high hopes, but hasn't particularly kicked on to the top level, has he?
No, he hasn't. And you said it is a shame for him to go, but if he doesn't want to play for Milan, it's not going to get any better, is it? I think maybe his lackluster performance has been because he's just not feeling it at Milan, and maybe it's the right time for him to move on. With the new owners coming in and the new money, you can go out and like you say, maybe just test Atalanta's resolve and see how much they want for Conte. Or even go out, look further afield. I'm sure Jack would input with some names.
Relish that opportunity.
Yeah. But yeah, I think when you've got, it's going to pay me to say it, but looking at Tottenham and you hear about the togetherness of the team, I think that goes a long way in how they've performed this year. And if you've got players that don't want to play, then you have to kind of move them on and get players that want to play. You can build a strong unit, especially next season. If you want to go for Serie A, if you want to go for Europa League, you need a group of players that are willing to work for each other. Yeah. So I think maybe it is destiny in disguise. Obviously not for him getting injured. You never want a player to get injured, but I think if he has played his last game for Milan and he's wanting to move on, then it's probably the perfect time, as there's going to be a real rebuild in the summer anyway. So get the new one in.
Yeah, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think you can kind of just plod along and think, yeah, okay, he's solid, if not extravagant. But the key is, if he's not interested in staying, if he does genuinely want to leave, if the reports are true, then I think it's best for all parties that he moves on and we look back at that Atalanta game and say goodbye. But
yeah,
Jack, do you echo those thoughts? I mean, yeah, like I said, it's one of our own, it's come through the ranks. But if he's not going to make the cut, then better off moving on and bringing someone else that'll do a better job now.
I don't know who you're talking about, and honestly, I only know Desciglio. I think that's how I would have given it a go. No, yeah, I think as you said, if anybody, any sign of lack of commitment is there, then there's only one answer. There, you occasionally see a club try and hold a player against their will for a little bit, but how often does that ever work out? It just doesn't, does it? I still think, I did say it a few weeks back when we were sort of worried about him, and when the fans were getting him on a little bit in terms of, he's 24. I do feel as though some of his, his lack of development and such has been down to a lack of quality on the training field and sort of a lack of progression as a club over the last few years. I think going to Juventus, even if he's the understudy for Dani Alves for a year or 6 months or just training with that quality of players, I do think he will up his game a bit. But yeah, he's 24 and even though we'd all love to be 24 still, that's not too young in football, is it? So he might have missed his perfect chance to get to reach those heavy heights. So, but yeah, do you know what I mean? Anytime there's, even a small drop off in terms of commitment and such, it's no good for anybody, and got to move him on. I don't know. Is he going for free? Is it going to be a transfer fee coming in for him? Sorry, what's the...
Yeah, his contract runs out next summer, so we're looking, I think the rumours have said something like 10, 12 million or something like that.
Okay, so reasonable cash, probably not quite as much as you'd
exactly
would have projected for him a few years back and such, but a bit of cash and as I said, I'm sure through the summer we'll have plenty of names to get the fans excited about his replacement. So
sure
leave it to us.
Leave it to you, mate. It's all in your. I'm waiting for your transfer updates, but no, definitely, I think we're all in agreement there. It's a shame, but yeah, we'll have to move on. Another talking point from the game, Montella returns, his first game since October when he suffered a really bad knee injury. He splits opinion, and in all honesty, I think the majority of people would probably go against him being in the team at this point. He came under a lot of criticism last season. He still had his injuries problems then as well, but it's just a case of, what you get from him. He'll come in and do a job, but he's not the particularly sort of world-class standout player you want, orchestrating your midfield and playing that sort of influential role in the middle. It's good to have him back in a sense. I think, he offers depth, he offers experience, leadership and all those good things, but I just don't think, as long as Montella's kind of brought him in for these last couple of games just to sort of tie us over and get us over the line, I just hope that his return doesn't mark a sort of permanent return to the team where, the likes of Locatelli miss out and whoever we bring in the summer kind of comes in and almost acts as cover to him if that's the case. But I don't think it's going to go that way, but definite squad player. But moving forward, I hope that there's no sort of more prominent role there for him, but we'll have to wait and see. And then, boys,
Isn't he club captain?
he is.
Yeah. He must have some sort of leadership qualities in the dressing room.
Oh yeah, 100%. I personally value those. I still think that's an important part of it. I think we don't have enough of that anymore.
Yeah.
If you look at, I hate it personally when I'm made to look back at Milan squads of old, but over the successful years, you had people like Gattuso, Ambrosini, Maldini, Nesta, Seedorf, Zambrotta, people like those guys in the dressing room, and even towards the end of their respective careers, you still thought, okay, obviously they're not in their prime anymore, but they're big voices in the changing room. The young guys coming through, new signings, they sort of set the culture. They set the example to everyone else. So I think he still has a major role to play in that respect. But playing time wise, I just hope he's come back into the team now, and that's kind of going to follow on into next season. So that's my only reservation. But definitely keep him. He's definitely worth having his depth if we're going to be competing on the various fronts as well. So be a useful player to have for sure.
Save him for those cold nights in the Ukraine.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, that's the first name on the team sheet. But all good. And then just to kind of go back to Montella again. I know we've spoken about him in recent weeks, but kind of is now leaning towards the fact that he will stay on. There's talk of Mancini coming in. There's talk of if he didn't make Europe, he might be sacked and someone else brought in. But he's spoken about it quite a lot, surprisingly, with the media over the last week. In the build-up to the Atalanta game, he actually addressed those rumours. He wanted to make a point saying that there was great harmony between him and the club and that they're already planning for the future. And yeah, he kind of reiterated that again after the game. He was asked about it again. And he just said, my only thought right now is to keep the future far away and focus on the present. We are making plans with the club. We'll have a pre-season tour in China and begin training on July 3rd and 4th. I feel the club has faith in me. I am proud of this squad and there is a very important project here. I don't see any sort of problem. Jack, we've spoken about the rumours and spoken about the potential of him being moved on. I think I think you said last week you voted other, didn't you, in the poll?
I did, yeah, mate.
But just from those comments alone, I know it's obviously not set in stone if the manager's saying it. You obviously want to hear it from the top dogs, but that kind of sounds to me as if they're in it for I wouldn't say long haul, but they're definitely looking beyond this summer and into next season.
Yeah, for sure. It seems pretty genuine, doesn't it? It sounds like he's had reassurances to me. I'm really torn, as I sort of alluded to last week, in terms of just the last month or two has muddied the water a little bit for me. But I do think it's probably best not to be too rash. Let's go again next season. We've got him in place. He's done a good job still, even if it's not, a spectacular job. It is certainly a very good job. Let's get some signings in. And then we can put a little bit more weight on what the expectations and everything should be, and sort of start judging the development from next season, really. So, I think it seems as though that chat's happened, hasn't it? He sounded pretty confident that was the case. But, as I've said before, I'm just I'm not too clear on anything at the moment, off or on the pitch, and would sort of just want that sort of resolved in terms of, right, if he is staying, what is our tactics going to be? What are the sort of personnel that we're going to bring in? What sort of culture and look to the team are we trying to create? And really, so it's going to be difficult. But I just hope after the season ends in a couple of weeks, that first month, 6 weeks, everybody that's following the club can just start to be clear in terms of, okay, this is what we're trying to do, or this is what we're trying to expect. So fair play to him. Absolutely zero problem with him staying on and all the rest. And as I said, the only reason I thought I voted other and such was, but just in case there is one of these high level managers that are in the market or potentially available and things, then I do think you might have considered it. But no, fully back him and let's get behind him.
Yep, definitely. I think, like you mentioned there, I think the key is going to be the work has to start immediately after the season finishes. If he's talking about the tour of China,
Definitely.
then obviously the Europa League qualifiers, he's not got time to mess about. Milan have got to get their business done and done early, which I'm kind of glad that the rumours, and I think they've gone past rumours in that sense, because you get the feeling that when certain things are repeated so often, like for example with the Kessie situation, that kind of gives you a sort of indication that, do you know what, there's got to be more to this. This is definitely something that's in the making. So I'm glad to hear that Milan are making moves and sort of doing stuff now in preparation for the end of the season, going into the summer. So business done early, and like you said, tactics and everything's got to be set out, and hopefully we'll see that.
Some of the best business is done that early, isn't it? I'll never forget when we signed Luka Modric, and it was just before the Euros, and then the Euros went on, and everyone went, bloody hell, who's this player, this Croatian midfielder? And we'd already signed him for 40 million before the competition had even got a sniff. So, do you know, when you get in there early before, you know, Atalanta actually get a time to test the market of how much they could actually get in things, and just offer them what they think's a really good amount, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You're done before you have to compete with anyone else for them.
Exactly, definitely. Jace, those comments, they definitely sound like a man who's pretty confident he's going to be in a job at Milan next season.
Yeah. I think maybe this has been hanging over his head the past couple of weeks, the uncertainty, and you know he's probably been reassured, and it's in the tone coming through in these comments. It definitely sounds like he knows he's going to be there next year. Obviously, I voted for Mancini in that poll, but yeah, I think it is positive for Montella. I was just concerned with recent results against Empoli, Pescara, and his comments about motivation. I think my only concern going forward is what if Milan get off to a bad start next season? Will the club persist with him, or will they sack him? You know what I mean? Then you don't want to sack a manager mid-season. I think that's more unsettling to a team. I think the owners need to kind of make a decision about who their man's going to be, get him in, give him a summer, and give him a hope at least a season. But from these comments, it sounds like it's going to be Montella. I just hope he gets the whole of next season to show what he can do.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Can't put it. I'm assuming we're going to have teething problems in the sense of integrating as many new players as we possibly might have as well. So it's not going to happen immediately, but hopefully he gets the time to put it all together and gets results. But that we will have to wait and see. Transfer rumours, fellas. Obviously, with the situation as it is, this is going to be an endless thing until the market opens, and then obviously when it closes, I think it's going to be ongoing throughout the summer. I want to play a little game with you. I want you to either vote up or down on the following names. Some heading in, some heading out, but just to get your opinion on some of these players. I'm going to start with an obvious one, because I think we're all going to vote up. I certainly am. That's Frank Kessie. Jack, are you up or down on Kessie?
Yeah, mate, as high as you can go. Up.
Good man. Jace, full house?
Yeah, I agree. Totally, yeah.
Good man. There's also been rumours this week, Suso potentially heading out. Napoli and Atletico Madrid interested. This is down to the fact that I believe his father has postponed talks over a contract renewal. I'm massively down on the prospect of Suso leaving. I think he's shown enough, although he's had a pretty bad dip in form in recent weeks. I think he's shown enough this season to suggest that he's got a big role to play for Montella. So I'm going to vote down on Suso leaving. Jace?
Yeah, I agree, Dan. I think you want to keep him at the club, even if it's just as a squad player. I think it's kind of difficult to vote on him, not knowing the capabilities of who Milan are going to bring in. But definitely at the moment, I think he's one of the standout players. I know no one's really standing out that much, but I'd say he's one of the better players in the squad currently. So got to keep him. So I'll vote down on that.
Good man. Jack?
Yeah, it's a freeway, boys. Definitely agree. Like Jay says, I think, what's important to remember is you're not going out and signing 25 new players. So you've got to look at the squad, who you want to keep. And you want people that have been there through the tough times as well as the good times. You want people sort of who've seen both sides. So, he's certainly someone that I wouldn't be looking to move on.
Good man. One player that has been strongly linked this week, and by all accounts, he's pretty much a done deal, is Ricardo Rodriguez from Wolfsburg, left back. I'm not going to profess to watch Wolfsburg religiously week in, week out, so I don't really know how good he is. I've seen him for Switzerland and he looks a tidy player, but the situation as it is in the left back's position, it's something certainly that needs to be addressed this summer. And if Milan are keen on this guy, then I've got to trust in them. So I'm going to vote up. But have either of you seen much of him, Jack? Have you seen a lot of him?
Yeah, mate. I watched him quite a lot. We were linked with him when Danny Rose was out at Sunderland, and we were sort of in search for our sort of starting left back. He was one of the main names in, honestly, that was doing the rounds. And I remember watching him for Switzerland in trying to think what tournament what year are we in now? 2017. So it must have been 2012, something like that, when he was very young or something along those lines. And he must be mid-20s or so now. But I always really liked him. He looked very athletic, powerful. Good quality left back. I don't know if you had a left back. Udinese had a left back once, and I don't know if Milan signed him off him. Began with a J. I can't remember what it was called. Yadanek. Oh, I don't know. I'll figure it out. But he reminds me very much of him because he looks, really quality going forward, and he's kind of got nice ponytail, nice little goatee, and I think he's mate. Yeah, I'm definitely up on that one. I think he fits the mold. He's got some good experience in a decent league. Good international. I really like that one. Up.
Good. All right, that's promising. Jace, have you seen much of him? Do you agree?
I have actually. Kind of oddly similar kind of story to Jack, because Arsenal were linked with him last summer. So I watched him last summer. Saw a bit of him on YouTube and stuff, and watched him in the Euros, because he's a good mate of Granit Xhaka's, isn't he? They're like best friends or whatever. So we were linked with him heavily, and I thought we were going to get him this summer, but obviously it seems like we're looking elsewhere. But yeah, I agree with Jack. I liked him, what I saw. So if he can bring that same sort of energy he's playing with now to Milan, that's a definite up for me.
Good stuff, fellas. I like this. All right, I'm happy with that. Let's bring him in. That
left back that I couldn't think of.
Yep.
Marek Janilowski.
Oh, Jankulovski.
Did he go to Milan, or
Milan
did he go
legend, mate? No, he came to us. He was Udinese first, then came over.
Mate, he looks a bit like him. It reminded me a bit.
Anything like him, I'll take him all day long. Let's bring him in. Good stuff. Belotti, boys. I'm going to throw this rumour at you. I genuinely don't know how serious it is, considering the money involved. I'm guessing someone's just written it up because it was a slow day. But apparently talk today that we're going to offer 70 million euros plus 3 of our bit part players. I think it was Kuchka, Antonelli and Gabriel, backup goalkeeper. I don't think that's going to be the offer on the table. I think Torino are looking for 100 million euros apparently. I'm massively up on him as a player. I'd definitely snap him up if we could, but I'm going to go down because I just don't see it happening. I don't see us having the funds to kind of prize him away, and I just think, I just can't see it happening. So I'm going to go down on that one. Jace?
I'm going to go up on it. I think he's a good player. I agree with you. It is ridiculous sums of money, but I mean, that's how much footballers are costing these days. And if Milan are serious about, really challenging next season, I think if you look at who Juve have up top, if they hold on to Dybala, if they hold on to Higuain, you're going to need players in that kind of similar mould, proven goal scorers in Serie A. So I think looking at who you've got at the minute, you definitely need to improve on that. So yeah, I'll go for it. I mean, 70 million plus 3 players, it sounds to me worth more than 100 million, obviously depending on who the players are, but it seems like a decent deal. I can understand why Torino would want to hold out for the cash, but definitely I think AC have to go for it.
Yeah, no, as a player, I give him 2 thumbs up. I'd love him to be at Milan next season. I don't know if you heard about it, but their fans have obviously started a sort of, what's it called, online push to get him signed up. I think 4 million hashtags Belotti Milan or something like that. So the fans are all in. They're all in.
They always work, don't they?
Well, Montella listens to us. He might be on Twitter next week. I don't know.
But the last one we had at Arsenal was for a player that eventually signed for Spurs. didn't work at all.
Oh dear. Fair enough.
You'll see him at Inter next season.
Jack, what are you saying? Belotti, up or down?
Yeah, up, mate. Spunk the load on him. Get him in. It's do you know what I mean? All his goals and everything like that. What like Jace is saying there, it's a massive, massive, thing for a team to have a proven 25 plus, goals scorer in the season. So, And it's just someone for everyone to pin their hopes to for the next couple of years while she's sort of slowly getting around the rebuild of the rest of the side. So I do get what you mean. Do you know what I mean? It depends on exactly what's on offer and things like that. It probably wouldn't be the smartest thing to do, and certainly wouldn't go with my money ball type techniques that I usually like to employ. But now, whenever 70 million's banded around, it's just exciting, isn't it? Go do it.
Why not? Niang to either Watford or Torino. It's been a while since I've had a moan about him because he's obviously been on loan out at Watford, so haven't had to watch him. Painful as it was. I'm up on him leaving. I think we're going to fetch around 18 million euros according to reports if he does leave, and combination of that fee plus the fact that I just don't think he's consistent or mature enough to do well for Milan, I'd take that all day long. Jace?
Yeah, I'll take that. I think if you're seriously looking to shift into Torino, why not get him involved in that Bellotti deal? 70 million plus Niang and maybe Desilio, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I remember you talking about him. I've watched him a few times, and yeah, he's not that good. He's not even doing well for Watford. I don't think Watford would up the money for him, to be honest. But yeah, definitely need to get him out of the clubs, especially with the rebuild happening. You need to get some quality strikers in and get all the dead weight out.
Absolutely. Jack, you in agreement?
I am, yeah, certainly for that sort of money. I think that's good money. The only thing I would say is obviously the Delafeo, if he doesn't go, you do still need that winger, and depending how Niang comes back and if he feels he's improved until, you might reconsider it a little bit then, depending on the market. But 18 million is a lot of money for him. So yeah, I'm up on that one.
Good man. We've spoken about him already, and I think we can kind of skip over him, but I'm assuming you're both up on Desilio leaving this summer. Jack?
Yes, mate. Yeah, as we've said, sort of mentality's key. So yeah, up on him going.
Good stuff. Jace?
Yeah, totally agree. Needs to go play where he wants to play and allow Milan to move on.
Absolutely. Off he goes. Another man that's been in the headlines, apparently his agent is looking for assurances from Milan this summer to know whether or not he's going to be a part of this new project, is Gianluca Lapadula. I'm up on him staying. I don't see him having a future as our first choice number 9, whether that's Belotti, whether that's God knows about the million other names that have been linked with us, but he's definitely a good solid player to have as backup. So for that reason, I'm going to say up on him staying. Jace?
I'm down on him staying, actually. Ooh. Down on him. He's, like you say, he's not going to start. He's 27 years old at the minute, I think. He's from Turin. Get him involved in this Belotti Torino deal. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're hanging on to him just for the sake of him being there, especially with, like we've talked about it, you got the rebuild coming. I think you need to get in players, especially strikers or forward players, who you can rely on to score goals. So I would shift him out in order to get someone else in, even if that someone else is a squad player, someone who you can come on and maybe nick a goal when you need to. So yeah, I'd move him on, to be honest.
Fair enough. I see your point. Jack, who are you siding with?
I'm up on him staying. I think similar. I completely appreciate what Jace is saying there for sure, but I just think similar to what we were saying in terms of you just need a certain amount of bodies just on the training ground, or else you're gonna. Do you know what I mean? You're not gonna have enough. I just think I can't imagine his wage is too much, and as a third sort of choice striker and such, I don't think he's too bad to have as a backup. So yeah, I'd be up on him staying.
I've always liked you, Jack. You're a good man. 1-0 to me, Chase. And then the funniest one that I've heard, so I'm going to save the worst till last. There's been talk this week, apparently, that City and United's, the original one from The Sun suggested that Donnarumma might be available for 20 million. And then I've read another fresh one from Italy saying that it's going to be 35 million euros. Donnarumma to either City or United. I understand why it's come up, obviously with the contract situation, and I am genuinely concerned about whether or not he's going to sign a new contract with Raiola meddling as he always does. And Jace, I understand your point you made last week about the whole United connection. how many players Real has taken over there, but I'm massively down on this. Massively down on the fee that they're talking about. Massively down on Donnarumma leaving. Just massively down on everything. It's not happening for me. Jack, what do you think?
Definitely down on him leaving, yeah, for sure. I think his development is best placed at Milan for now. I think in terms of the fee, I do think you overpriced him slightly. I know that obviously with all those posters you've bought of him, and you go to one of his actual goalkeeping goal shirts could be your duvet, couldn't it? So you could probably use the size of him. But no, I reckon he's probably 35 to 40 mil is probably where I would vote now, only because of his age still being so young, which I know you could say is a plus, but we're not really too sure on quite what the ceiling is and at the highest level what's he going to do. So I reckon you're about right at that sort of figure, being realistic. But yeah, definitely down on him it being anywhere other than Milan next year.
Fair point. Jace, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm down on him leaving. I think it would be a massive shame if Milan let him go, but I do generally think he will leave. I'm sorry to break it to you, but I did mention it last week with the links to United, and obviously talk about James Rodriguez coming from Real Madrid to United, and I think that's an indication that De Gea is going the other way. So United might be in the market for a goalkeeper. So I do want to say, but it looks highly unlikely.
I see what you mean, Jace. I see what you mean. As much as I don't want to believe it, it doesn't look good. It's all right, Jace. Don't worry about it. We're still friends.
I love it, Jace. You don't just see a rumour. You see a rumour beyond a rumour beyond a rumour. I love it.
Good work. All right, cool. That wraps up the Milan transfer rumour side of things. Jack, you've noticed that Spurs have been linked with a Serie A youngster that's been grabbing some headlines this season.
Yeah, and honestly, I hadn't seen the name at all, really. And just the last week or so, there's a bit of traction picked up. And with Sampdoria youngster Patrick Schick, I think he's called. But me with names, that might be completely wrong.
You're on. Yes,
but yeah, I saw he's heavily linked with Inter Milan as well. But again, completely blind to him. And honestly, I haven't seen anything of him and don't really know. But goal record looked okay, and obviously got age on his side. But is he someone you rate, and is he someone that would be an appealing target if Milan got involved in that as well?
I've been impressed with what I've seen from him. Can't say I've seen a great deal of him, and I think he's got some way to go to kind of prove that he can consistently deliver over a sort of prolonged period of time. But he has got I think it's 11 in 30 or something like that for Sampdoria this season. Yeah, he's a decent young player. He's got an eye for goal, good technically. I don't know if you saw there's one goal in particular. I'm not going to compare it to the Bergkamp goal against Newcastle, but very similar in the sense, he had a flick around the corner, past the defender, and then slide it home.
Sounds like sacrilege to me. There's no goal as good as that.
All right, I'll take it back. Yeah. Let's not compare them. But no, that kind of is an indication of the sort of quality that he possesses. I think that was a brilliant goal. He's again, Jack. I don't know. I think he's a bit of a gamble at this point. I think it's only been one season in Serie A. I think you probably need to see a bit more of him to be fully sort of convinced by him to go in and buy him. But certainly a top young player. Yeah, I think it's maybe worth my.
Yeah, I think Spurs. We're looking at a few different avenues. Obviously, Harry Kane's very much the main man, and I think. A young striker to sort of be a third striker at our club and develop with us is something that we're looking at. So he might fit that mould a little bit. But yeah, as I said, came out of the blue a little bit. So might try and see if I can see him a bit more of him over these last couple of games.
Definitely. Keep an eye out. Looks a pretty decent player. So yeah, not bad. All right, boys, good stuff. Just to quickly recap what happened last week before we go. We also had the Juventus Scudetto party postponed. They lost at Roma, which was
title race.
Yeah, it was a really, really good game actually. Juve obviously rested a lot of players, rotated, pretty much put out the B team in many ways, but still they had a good team out, and Roma did the business without Dzeko. So fair play to them. I still think the title's definitely going to Turin. Juve are going to take it again, but it makes it interesting just for another week.
Who have Juve got next?
They got Crotone,
Okay.
who have been in unbelievable form over the last few weeks. I'm not quite sure just how unbelievable it is, but they've basically gone from absolute certainties to get relegated to now a point off safety. So they're on an absolute tear, and I think particularly given it's Juve, they'll be up for it. So
2 games left as well, isn't there?
2 games left. Yep.
It's wide open to me, I think. Do you know what I mean? Was it 4 points between Juve and Roma?
Yeah, 4 points.
Ooh.
Yeah, I see what your point is. Anything could happen at this point, and especially with Juve, maybe one eye on the Champions League final, but obviously going to take care of business. They've got the Coppa Italia final tomorrow night as well, so they're busy times ahead. But yeah, I still see Juve winning it, unfortunately, for the 6th time in a row. But we shall see.
Mate, Napoli are still in there as well, aren't they? 5 points behind.
Yeah, I mean, similar situation to Roma though, Jace. I just don't. I think it was just too late in the day to kind of suggest that Juve are going to slip up twice in the last 2 games and let Napoli in. But
I
think
the defeat on the weekends, that wake up call.
Exactly.
Can't let it go now. 2 games left. Just do the business type.
That's it. I think a lot of the players in Allegri came out and said, "Yep, bad result, not good enough." But tell you what, it's perfect time for a wake up call before the Coppa Italia final and the last 2 games. Yeah. Let's get back on track, wrap things up, and come away with a treble.
I guess they're one win away, aren't they? So
exactly. So I'd like to think it might go to the last day, but I think it'll be wrapped up this weekend, unfortunately. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. Napoli won again, 5-0 at Torino. I'm running out of superlatives for Napoli, to be honest. I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Just watching them play. Just end up watching them and appreciating the football they play under Sarri. Definitely hope that they can kick on, bring in some top players in the summer and really give Juventus a good go. Keep Mertens, he's firing them in, so they look a great team. And then from an England point of view, Jack, Joe Hart, he's not having the best of spells in Italy. I think the Torino president came out this week and said that we didn't realise he was going to make so many mistakes while he was with us. It's not really what you want to see from England international, is it? Especially, with all the hype and the excitement of him testing himself abroad.
No, I think he's do you know what I mean? I think he has shown glimpses of the quality keeper that he is, but there's clearly been some struggles there, and I think Joe Hart lives so much on his communication, and that's such a big part of his game in terms of his leadership and commanding the area. There's just been a stutter in his confidence over there from what I've seen, and certainly a few howlers, which he's always been prone to in the Premier League as well, to be honest with you. But he brings so many other stuff to the game that he's always been rated very highly. But seems to be taking a little bit of a backward step, and there's a few young British goalkeepers in Jordan Pickford and Butland's just coming back and such like that might overstep him and now be the ones that we look to in the future.
Yep, certainly not looking good for Joe, but
can't hate on him though for trying it though. Anyone that goes to a different league, even if it's for 1 year, I doff my hat to them to a degree, because so many people aren't up for that challenge.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad he did it, but see what the future holds for him. Right, fellas, I think that wraps us up for this week, unless either of you had anything you'd like to add.
Nothing this side.
Yeah, no, I think we covered it all.
Good stuff. All right, so let's hope Milan do the business against Bologna. Let's hope for a Fiorentina slip-up. Let's wrap this 6th place up and move on. Europa League, here we come.
Yeah, let's get ready for that final to meet.
Absolutely, Chase. Let's get all the travel and stuff planned in advance, because we're definitely going to get there.
I'm going to book my hotel right now, man.
Good man. Jack, always a pleasure.
Yeah, good being here, lads. And as you said, fingers crossed, get over the line this weekend.
Absolutely. Jace, pleasure as always, my man.
Yeah.
And nothing else but to say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye to the people.